Hey everyone, it's Annie and welcome back to my channel. A few weeks ago, I got my very first chemical peel, and today I kind of wanted to share my experience and to talk through it. I've noticed that every time I'm talking about chemical peels with either a friend or someone I know, the reaction is usually that they're really scared. And I think this might stem from an iconic episode of Sex and the City where one of the characters, Samantha, ends up getting a chemical peel kind of like on a whim. She was at a dermatologist appointment and she did not realize her skin would be super red and sensitive after. And she actually has to go to a book release party that one of the other characters is having, and she ends up going, but she's wearing like this huge black veil to cover her face so you can't really see it. So I think for a lot of people that was kind of their first introduction to what a chemical peel was, and that image of Samantha with super red and sensitive skin has just kind of been synonymous with chemical peels. But are chemical peels really like that? Chemical peels are intended to remove the outermost layer of skin via exfoliation, so then that way the new skin underneath can start to shine through. Chemical peels can really help with firming the skin and evening out discoloration from acne scarring or dark spots. And the thing about chemical peels to keep in mind is really depending on the severity of your skincare concern, it may take more than one chemical peel to get you to your desired results. Chemical peels are typically done in office. Sometimes dermatologists offer this, definitely medical spas or estheticians' offices as well. So why did I want to get a chemical peel? Starting around, I would say like end of December 2022, I started getting really consistent breakouts on my chin, which I knew were hormonal and breakouts that I've gotten my whole life. I've always had to deal with cystic acne on my chin specifically. But what was kind of different about the breakouts this time was that they were literally back to back. So I would get a cystic acne breakout on my chin, and I would kind of just focus all of my efforts to get rid of that pimple and get it to heal as fast as possible. But then when that pimple would heal, you know, I would have 1 or 2 days where nothing would happen, and then a couple of days later I would just get another breakout that would be cystic elsewhere on my chin. And this kept happening over and over. Honestly, it went on into February. So this was happening to me literally for 2 months straight. It was super frustrating. It was super annoying. Cystic acne is definitely one of the worst types, if not the worst type of acne that you could be dealing with, because with cystic acne at first, you know, there's no head. It's just a really painful bump underneath your skin that, you know, depending on how big it is, sometimes you can feel it, and it's just really uncomfortable and painful. And then once the cystic acne does come to a head and pops, you know, that also would take me a couple of days to recover from. So it was just really frustrating that this kept happening back to back. So even though I was on my normal skincare routine of tretinoin and chemical exfoliants, that was not really making a difference. So I knew I kind of had to switch up my skincare routine and do something new, because this was kind of a new issue that I was dealing with. And I couldn't really figure out what the cause of it was, because I wasn't really trying any new skincare products. I was eating pretty healthy and living overall a generally pretty healthy lifestyle. So I actually really wasn't sure where this was coming from. So that's when I knew that it was time to do something different. I had to switch up my routine if I wanted different results. And in January, Massage Envy actually approached me to do a paid collaboration on TikTok where I would get a chemical peel. And I thought this would actually be a really great time to get a chemical peel, because I knew that getting chemical peels on a regular basis is a really good way to help maintain and minimize acne breakouts. And honestly, I've been wanting to get a chemical peel for a while. I've always been kind of curious about the process myself. So when Massage Envy approached me, I thought this is actually a perfect time for me to get a chemical peel. So this YouTube video is not being sponsored by Massage Envy. They sponsored my TikTok post on it, but I do want to disclose that I got this chemical peel as part of a paid collaboration. So now we can kind of get into the process of chemical peels. And during an in-office chemical peel, they typically will use a chemical exfoliant such as a glycolic acid, a lactic acid, mandelic, etc., at a much higher strength than any chemical exfoliant product that you would normally use in your skincare routine. So for the prep, the main thing is to really stop using any sort of actives, including retinoids, chemical exfoliant, and vitamin C. So I pretty much stopped using all of these actives for about a week leading up to my appointment. I really focused on having a skincare routine that used hydrating, calming, soothing products with ingredients like snail mucin, glycerin, hyaluronic acid, ceramides, just so I could get my skin in a really good and healthy place so my skin barrier would be able to tolerate and to handle this chemical peel. So shortly after arriving to Massage Envy, they checked me in and went through a brief medical questionnaire. Then I met my esthetician who was doing my peel. Her name is Cheyenne, and she was awesome. And I think that the conversation that you have with either your esthetician or your dermatologist before the chemical peel is super important, because that's really an opportunity for you to let them know why you're coming in for this chemical peel. Like, what are the skincare concerns that are bothering you, and what are your skincare goals? So with Cheyenne, I immediately let her know that I was just going through this period of like back-to-back breakouts, and kind of just letting her know that with this chemical peel, I'd love for it to help kind of like minimize with the breakouts, as well as helping to even out like the acne scars and the dark spots that I have on my cheeks. Before we started the peel, Cheyenne actually did a quick double cleanse on my skin because I was wearing sunscreen and she just wanted to cleanse that off to start with clean skin. After cleansing my skin, she then used a pumpkin enzyme toner on me, and she kind of wanted to see how my skin would react to kind of just get a sense of how sensitive my skin is, so that way she knew better what combination to give me for my peel. So after discussing my skincare goals and my concerns with Cheyenne, she was able to kind of like custom make me this peel that basically used salicylic acid and lactic acid, which are two of my favorite chemical exfoliants, so I was totally down. And now it's peel time. And after combining this custom cocktail for me, Cheyenne started applying the peel to my face. And she also told me that she would kind of monitor and see how my skin was reacting to know how many layers to apply, because she also didn't want to go overboard, which I really appreciated. And I also really liked how she kind of like took that extra step to really talk to me and understand what I was trying to achieve with this peel. So we did about 3 layers of this custom lactic and salicylic acid peel, and it was feeling really spicy on my skin, but still tolerable. After the peel, she put some sunscreen on me to help protect my skin, and then she sent me home with some PCA skin products that were all very hydrating and nourishing and calming for my post-peel skin. So after the peel, it's definitely recommended to avoid direct sunlight. Your skin is most likely going to be in a pretty fragile state after being exposed to such strong chemical exfoliants. You don't want to be outside in the sun too much and cause UV damage to your skin. So after the peel, I pretty much tried to avoid the sun the best I could, which I'm also really good at. If I went outside, I definitely put on sunscreen and also just wore a hat and tried not to get any direct sunlight on my face because I just didn't want to risk anything. So how did my skin react after? Here's a more in-depth look of my skin before and after the chemical peel. The peel really helped to minimize my breakouts in addition to accelerating the fading of my acne scarring on my chin. I would say after my chemical peel, my skin probably recovered in about like a week and a half. I didn't experience as much redness, irritation, or peeling as I thought I would, but I definitely did experience it a little bit. I also did experience some purging again around my chin area, that troubled area where I kept getting breakouts prior to the chemical peel. So with purging, this kind of can be expected after chemical peel, because if you have any breakouts that are at the surface level, but maybe not ready to break out yet before the peel, and then, you go in, you do the peel, you exfoliate away your top layers of skin, of course that breakout, which was at the surface level, is now gonna come out. But after I got over the purging phase, I would say that my skin actually looked really good, and it really helped minimize the breakouts that I was experiencing on my chin. I found that after, I didn't really get any new breakouts for about a week. With this chemical peel experience, honestly, it was not as bad as I thought it was going to be. My skin is pretty resilient. At this point, I've used tretinoin for years, as well as chemical exfoliants and vitamin C. So I feel like my skin's tolerance is pretty high. And I actually ended up getting micro needling like 2 weeks after my chemical peel, which I will do another video about. I would definitely get a chemical peel again, and this experience honestly has convinced me to add chemical peels as part of my overall skincare routine to help manage my acne, but also brighten up my skin and even out my skin tone, because that's something that I really want to focus on this year. The chemical peel at Massage Envy costs around $250, which also includes the tip for the esthetician. So I thought that this was a pretty affordable, decently priced option. And I would definitely go back to Massage Envy. I really liked the way my skin looked after, and I had a really great time talking with Cheyenne. She is a super knowledgeable and smart esthetician, and when I felt her hands on my face doing the peel, I just knew I was in the hands of an expert. So if you're curious about chemical peels, I would definitely check out Massage Envy. And if you don't have Massage Envy near you, or you want to go somewhere else, just do your research and make sure you're going to a reputable place.